My name is Mark, aka Create Lifestyle, and I help people break out of the matrix so that they can create freedom, abundance, peace of mind, and leave a powerful legacy. So, right now I'm talking about mentalism, one of the Hermetic principles. There's 7 of these Hermetic principles, and when you work them all together, you can begin to control your reality or control your destiny or begin to have some type of control over what's going on around you, what's happening. And that's what this is all about. This is old ancient science from thousands of years ago. There was a person by the name of Hermes Trismegistus who these Hermetic principles are patterned after. He was kind of a deity. He was sort of half God, half man. And he showed people how this worked and how he created the universe around him, how things worked, how he manifested. So that's what this is all about. I mean, right now we live in what I call the matrix. A lot of people refer to it as the matrix, meaning that we're living in some kind of a construct, something that's created. And the way I see it is basically a bunch of values and rules and patterns that have just been imposed upon us, and we just adopted them without even thinking about them. And therefore, we're doing what the dominant society has ordered us to do. It's basically like some kind of mental type of slavery that's kind of going on, and everybody is kind of trapped in this thing in one degree or another. But presently the veil is being lifted and people are waking up and are beginning to understand all this stuff and beginning to apply it because the old way is not working anymore. So that's just a brief introduction as to what I'm talking about. Mentalism is one of these Hermetic principles, and this is basically where science and ancient wisdom meet. So let me just slow this down a little bit because it's important. You know, most people think of the universe as physical. They think that it's solid, it's fixed, it's outside of them. But ancient wisdom and modern science, it tells a different story. At the deepest levels, the universe isn't physical at all. It's all mental and energetic. When you take an atom, you know, atoms made up of protons, neutrons, electrons, and when you zoom all the way into these tiny, tiny quantum particles, you'll see that there's more space than particles. So it's all energy. So that's what this whole thing is about. It's about directing and controlling energy. You know, when we experience what we experience as matter is really just energy in motion. Energy, energy, energy in motion, shaped by something deeper. There's a gentleman by the name of Max Planck. He was one of the pioneers of modern quantum physics, and this goes back to like 1927. He's one of the fathers of this whole science of quantum physics. But he explained it in a profound way. He said consciousness is fundamental and matter comes from it, not the other way around. In other words, the mind comes first. And as we're talking about this Hermetic principle, mentalism, it teaches that everything begins in the mind. The universe is mental in nature, and what we experience as reality is shaped by our consciousness. That's kind of deep. And I know it's kind of hard to get your mind wrapped around this, but just let it land. Think about the placebo effect. You know, the placebo effect is when people are sick and the doctor basically gives them a sugar pill. So they think they're getting something that's helping them, and in effect, it does. Their illnesses go away because they thought that it was going to help them. So it's all about, it's the belief. And there's the opposite of that that's called the nocebo effect, which says that negative beliefs create negative physical outcomes. So when you're going through life just taking in negative energy, it projects out into your reality. So we have to be very, very careful how we use information and use like the news, just recognize that there's a larger dominant society that's just forcing all of this on us and you to control you. The news is always bad. It starts off bad. We get sucked into it. People love dirty laundry. People love to hear the bad news for some strange reason. But all this bad news, it just gets absorbed into your consciousness and then gets projected out into your reality. So, yes, we have to find a way to get the news without being absorbed in the news. And I'm working on that. Hey, if you know how to do that, you let me know. So, mentalism, the nocebo effect. This is mentalism in action. Ancient civilizations, they understood this thousands of years ago. Places like ancient India. Really, it was described as consciousness expressing itself long before modern science had even the word to put it or the language to explain it. Many of the physicists who helped shape quantum theory, they come from cultures immersed in these ancient teachings. So what we're seeing now, it isn't disproving spirituality, it's science catching up to it. So the key takeaway is your thoughts are not passive, your beliefs are not harmless. Your mental patterns, they generate energy, and that energy shapes your experiences. That's why mentalism is the foundation of this whole hermetic principles that I talk about quite often. The universe is mental. The other laws, there's correspondence, vibration, polarity, rhythm, cause and effect, and gender. And I'll be explaining more and more as time goes on. So just stick with me. So now once you understand this stuff, life stops being random. You stop being a victim of circumstances. You start participating in the creation. And I'm not saying that you control everything, but you influence, or we influence far more than we were ever taught and far more than we know. And that's the whole beginnings of this whole idea of breaking out of the matrix, not by fighting, but by just understanding how this thing really works. So breaking out of the matrix, it's about controlling your destiny. It's about getting control of your mental capacity, your thoughts, so you can project out and create your own reality. So what's all this mean? That means all aspects of your life we can change. A big part of creating freedom is creating abundance, and a big part of abundance is creating money. We've been taught to go to school, go to school, get a good job, go to college, get a better job, go to grad school, get an even better job so that we can have some money, so that we can live a life that we want to live. That's what we've been taught. So a lot of people don't get an opportunity to do that because it costs money to go out and get an education. So you have to go spend money to make money, and this vicious cycle just goes on, but you're still exchanging your time for money. Part of breaking down this matrix is being able to get in a position where your money works for you, or you create a situation that you have passive income coming in, or money coming in. Once you set up certain systems, money comes in. So that's a big part of creating freedom, and all this kind of starts in your mind. And I'll be talking about this as we go on, so just stick with me. But for now, I just want you to like this and share this, and stay tuned for more to come. As I said, control your destiny is one of my mantras. So having said all that, I just wish you peace, one love, and I'll say it again, control your destiny.